Hello everyone, my name is Webweaver and welcome back to World of Horror. So, on today's episode, I think last time we played Koiji. Yeah, I think we played Koiji. Let's do a little, we've actually done Koiji and Yashiro rather recently, haven't we? Let's go ahead and do, we could do, I'm not really feeling a Haru run tonight, honestly.
No.
We could either do, like, an Aiko run. Well, let me do a little alt-tab real quick. Let me just make sure that I'm not going over... I'm not treading water that has been tread too soon, if that makes sense. Let's see what we got here. I have a notification. I will look at that notification later. Yeah, so we played Yashiro, and we played Miku, and we played Koiji, and then we played Kairi and Mimi, and then Aiko. So actually, we are a little bit overdue for like a Mizuki or a Moriko run. I mean, we're most overdue for a Haru run, because that was like, when was the last Haru run? That was that really 2 weeks ago? Oh, I feel kind of bad, actually. If the last Haru run was 2 weeks ago, I actually do feel a little bit bad about that. We'll do Haru tomorrow, I think. Yeah, we'll do Haru tomorrow. Let's do a little Aiko. I was gonna say I don't want the video to end so soon, at like a 20 minute mark, but besides the roads open, you know, the last 2 episodes have been close to the 40-minute mark, so I actually don't mind a little faster of an episode. I think that's fine. I think that's relatively fine. We'll go with medical history, see if we can't get... We'll do the classic. We'll do the classic medical history Kathako Tarasu. That's probably not the way that you say it, but at this point, it's like... You know, it is what it is, right? Your boy's gonna say it how your boy says it. Alright, so... We've got, wait. I opened the memory.txt, but it didn't show up. That's a little bit weird. So we have second enemy, charisma, second mystery, strength, and light source. The dexterity check that's at the bottom there, it doesn't really matter as much. So I am planning on doing, I'm looking at it right now, and it's like, last week, Faith Chapter 2, Food for My Family. We are gonna do Faith, but I haven't bought Faith 2 yet, because I keep thinking like, oh, you know, it's just $2, I should just buy it. But I haven't bought it yet. It's just been pure laziness, to be honest with you. I will probably buy it sometime on the weekend. But I'm still shopping around for some stuff that I need for my traveling. I got my my tripod in for my tripod mounted microphone stand that's very small. And I actually think I might... Oh, we clicked Yashiro, didn't we? Oh well. Oh well. We clicked Yashiro. But that's probably fine. I don't think anybody's gonna get on me too hard for that one. I mean, it's Aiko, we're gonna win anyways. So it's like, you know. We could lose, but playing Aiko is like you're raising your chances. We do have the knowledge check, right? No, we don't. We have charisma and strength. So, what do we want to do here? We got a couple potential closed roads. I think we'll do botany first. So we've got charisma and strength, which is kind of a weird one for sure. So the Innsmouth look, you know, that's probably one of the better ones. I guess we'll do the side quest. We don't usually, like, unless we somehow get there with, like, plus 10 health, we're probably not gonna do the Shiro what. However, paranoia kind of sucks. Actually, does it really? We don't have the dexterity threshold for the lighthouse, so I don't know how much I care about it. But, We don't normally do the Shiro what unless we have like plus 10 health, because it does hurt a lot. That was a 5, wait, 5 plus 2? Excuse me? Was that actually a 5 plus 2, or am I crazy? We should have, well, we should have been able to pass that. This is a knowledge check. This is Doom, right? Yeah, okay, that's what I wanted. We'll take the Doom there. I'm starting to experiment with, like, taking Doom willingly more, because I feel like you can kind of feel out whether or not you're going to get a lot of Doom in a run. And I feel like this is probably a run where we're going to get a lot of Doom, because, like, it keeps going up pretty quickly. This is a knowledge check, and it's Doom if you fail, right? So we'll just take stamina there. That's fine. But Shiro what? It doesn't get you more EXP. It just prevents you from taking plus 3% Doom. So I think that we would probably not want to risk a medical history hit, because we get hit guaranteed when we do Shiro what. So we're probably just going to lead him. And that's Mystery 1 done. Does this mean that Shiro-san is our first enemy? Yeah, it is, isn't it? So whoever's next... Yeah, whoever's next is gonna be our second enemy, because we haven't fought anybody yet. And we know if we fought somebody, because we have Kathako Tarasu. I'll probably take Discipline, because we have Vigil next, so we're not going to the forest anymore, so Outdoorsman doesn't matter. Quick Thinking would matter if we had the Dexterity check, but it's a lie, because there's only 5 things in the lighthouse. So we'll just take Discipline and Knowledge, I think. That's probably fine. If we get oh, do we do Vigil now? I think we do. It's a little risky, but I think we do Vigil now. Yeah, that's probably fine. We do have a bandage, so it's like if we get like some of the slightly worse ones that are a little bit like we do Vigil for the sole purpose of Folded Steel, by the way. We do Vigil for the sole purpose of getting roads closed out of the way. There is Light Source, so we need to keep the flashlight on hand. Can we one-shot the enemies? It's 13, right? Because it's 9 and 13, and the enemies have 13 health. I'm pretty sure that's correct. Stalker's Mask does not actually help, because, well, they should be human, they aren't. They are actually considered eldritch, which is a little bit weird. But, anyways. So, I was playing, you know, your boy, I've really been getting into Final Fantasy XIV. It's very difficult to explain, but it's just sort of like, the gameplay loop is, at the start, very simple, and then it kind of, it does sort of like natural gameplay progression very well, because like at the start it's painfully easy, right? But it's sort of designed for people who, like, you don't play video games that much, and so this is your video game, right? And so it takes the time to sort of walk you through things and introduce you to mechanics, and it actually does a really good job of that for... I mean, it does a fantastic job at it, really. Like, if you're somebody who's not very into games, and you're like, oh, I don't know, like, I've heard that game gets pretty difficult. It does, but it will, like, you ever use the easy ease keyframe option? It's like that. It'll ease you in. It won't, it won't affect you too badly. Like, it's a game that I think most people could probably play, because it does such a fantastic job at, like, introducing things to you and sort of letting you go at your own pace. And it can be a little bit daunting if you have, like, friends who want you to catch up with them, and then you want to go at your own speed, you know? Why did I level knowledge? That doesn't matter. I mean, it's a misplay for sure, but it doesn't matter. Like, we wanted to take charisma there, because we don't actually have a knowledge check. We have the, whatchamacallit. We can still get charisma and strength to 8, though. That's not gonna be hard. I mean, yeah, we might as well just do the boss fight last, but we could do it soon if we wanted to. But no, it does a really fantastic job at sort of, like, easing you in. And as long as you're willing to learn, the game will teach you, and it will teach you at your own pace. Right? I think it's actually a really... For people who are, like, really hardcore into games, I think it might be a little patronizing. But I also think that if you are, like... we can do this, why not? If you're... Oh, no. If you're, like, really hardcore into video games, it might seem a little patronizing at the beginning and very slow, which is how it felt for me. I'm not very hardcore into... I'm not hardcore into MMOs, but... You know, A Realm Reborn do be slow, though. But I feel like that it's a very well-designed game in the aspect of, like, if this is your first video game, you can play it and you can become really good at it. As long as you're willing to learn. Like, a lot of the game mechanics are complicated for the purpose of... How do I put it? It's like you have, like, I'll use what I just did in the game as an example, alright? I just did the Eyes of Creation raid for Heavensward, and the gimmick for the raid was you had these mobs, like these monsters, and when they died, they would fall, they would be, when they died, they would be absorbed by the boss, and then the boss would get stronger. And so, what you had to do was you had to lead them into an area where the boss wouldn't be able to get to them. And then you would kill them so that the boss couldn't absorb them. And it's very simple, because you just lead the monster over to the literally glowing square, kill the monster, and then go back to fighting the boss. But it was actually very difficult for our group, and my role was that of the healer. And so the person who's supposed to take the monsters to the glowing square is supposed to be the tank. Well, the second tank, because there's two of them. The first tank, or the main tank, they're supposed to deal with the boss, right? And the second tank is supposed to take the monsters into the glowing square. So our second tank was having some trouble, and so they weren't actually able to... Well, they could have done it. But they weren't taking the monsters to the glowing square. And so I had to take the monsters to the glowing square, and that was that was pretty difficult. From a perspective of my job is not designed to... We could have taken a chance there. Probably just bandaged whatever injury we got, but... you know, it's like... Like, my job is not built to take sustained damage from monsters. Like, I'm supposed to hide behind people and cast spells. And so I was having to use my healing spells to keep myself alive, so that I could so that I could lead the monsters into the correct place for when they're killed. And it was a very interesting raid. I had a lot of fun with it. But, let's see. We're not gonna kill in one turn, are we? No, we're not. That is, unfortunate, but it must be done. So, yeah, like, it was a very interesting battle, and I had to pull more weight than I otherwise would have, because in a perfect world, the tankier, beefier player would deal with the monsters, and then I could just focus on keeping everybody alive and dealing damage myself. We'll do a 77% chance here, why not? Okay, we definitely can't do that. We can do 2 buffs, so 87, let's go. But it's a really unique sort of thing to be a part of, right? Because when you get to the more difficult parts of the game, it starts to become more and more complicated, but it's always a simple thing that you can understand quickly. And so, like, for instance, the main tank for that raid, they didn't know that, and I didn't know this either, so I couldn't have warned them, but she didn't know that one of the monsters can't be thrown into the glowing square, because if the monster gets thrown in the glowing square, then the entire team dies. And so we died that way, but it was only the one time, because that's sort of how it's supposed to go, right? You're supposed to go into it and not understand it, but things are designed in a way that you can learn while the fight is happening, if that makes sense. And so, since I realized I was playing with a friend, we realized how the bombs worked, and we decided to take it on ourselves to essentially manage they're called mechanics of the fight. And the mechanic is really simple, right? You lead the monster to the glowing square, but when you have, at that point, you know, it's a raid, so it's supposed to be very complicated. So you have a lot of your abilities, because the longer the game goes on, the more abilities you get. And so for me, I have about 27 abilities that I have to manage, and they are, like, most of them are significant. Some of the abilities that I have are completely worthless, and so you just, like, you don't use them. But I do have about, like, I would say about 20 of the abilities that I have are useful. And so, you know, you're managing, like, yeah, the idea is simple. You bring the monster to the glowing box so that the boss doesn't become stronger. But on the other hand, it's like, how do I put it? You have 20 of your abilities to contend with, and you need to manage those abilities. And some characters have to, like, actually use all of their abilities constantly. Like, they have to rotate between different abilities that they use. And other characters, they, like me, what I have to do is I only have to use my abilities if people get hurt, right? And so other than that, I'm using the... whatchamacallit, I'm using the stone ability to throw rocks at the boss. What is my purpose? You throw rocks at the boss, dear God. So 18 is better than... Yeah, 18 is better than 13. Quick maths. Yeah, we can just do this, because we do 22, right? Yeah. Another thing about it, and I'm probably not doing a good job at explaining it, but something that only an MMO can do, and hello, I wanted to get rid of the pop-up. Something only an MMO can do, and what's made me very interested in it is, in the first place, is the fact that it is sort of like a complicated team battle, if that makes sense, right? Like, it is interesting enough to, whatchamacallit, like, there's not really a game that you play that, I have never played a game where, you have, like, 8 people, and you all have to work together, and you all have to pull your own weight. Like, I haven't played a game like that before, and I suppose that only... Like, that's something that I think only an MMO could do, right? Because, like, you know, you play Call of Duty or something, right? And you get that dub with your team, and it feels really good. But it doesn't, like, there isn't that sense of, like, fighting an overwhelming battle and then coming out on top, if you know what I mean. And in a game like Call of Duty, while I do appreciate a good round of Call of Duty every once in a while, a good old-fashioned team deathmatch, if you will, it doesn't give you a sense of, like, a multiplayer game, if that makes sense, right? Like, in Call of Duty, when you play, you might as well just be playing against sophisticated bots, right? You're never gonna talk to these people again. Once the game is over, the game is over, right? Nothing... It didn't really have a consequence. It didn't really matter. Like, maybe you got a couple headshots, and so you got closer to unlocking your camo skin. Does that date me? Does that age me? Like, people being like, wait, getting headshots to unlock camos in Call of Duty? What the hell are you talking about? Does that make me old? I hope it doesn't. I really hope it doesn't, but, yeah, you know, it's like... You don't really have a sense of teamwork, right? You're just going through and you're playing a team deathmatch, and it's good, right? It's good, it's fun. But the problem that I have with it is that I don't really feel like that there's no difference, really, between playing with a friend or playing with randoms, or playing... Like that's pretty much it. Like, there's no difference between playing with randoms or with a friend. There is no... Like... Functionally, inviting your friend to the Xbox Live party chat while you're playing Call of Duty is the same as playing Call of Duty with them, right? Because... Right? Like, you know what I mean? Am I weird? Am I weird? It just feels like that in a lot of games, it literally doesn't matter who you play it with, whether it be a random or a friend. And playing with your friends is just good because anything with friends is better. Like, friends make anything better, right? But if... Like, when you're playing an MMO, and what I'm kind of struggling to articulate is that when you're playing an MMO, you feel like there's actually, like, you're working together as a unit. You know what I mean? Like, you're working together as a team, and playing with friends enhances that experience tenfold, because, like, oh, that's your friend, right? That tank is not just some nameless tank who might as well be a bot. It's like, that tank is your friend, and they're tanking aggro for you. They're protecting you so that you don't die, and in turn, you're healing them so that they can stay alive, right? There's not a dynamic like that in any game that I've played, besides, like, Final Fantasy XIV, and it's quickly becoming one of my favorite games because I want to try the other ways of playing it, right? Like, being a healer is its own way of playing the game, but when you pick up something like a damage per second role or a tanking role, then you're playing an entirely different game. Like, even though I'm going through old content that's very easy while I'm leveling up Warrior, which is a tank, it's still a lot of fun because I'm I'm playing basically like a new game almost, right? Like, there's new mechanics that I have to learn. It's forcing me to play the game in a different way, and I'm realizing that, like, oh, this thing that I'm doing as the white mage, which is the healer, this thing that I'm doing, it doesn't work, and it's inefficient, because looking at it from a different perspective, it's like, I can't do this and this and this with different buttons, right? And so, it's made me basically completely change how I play the game, and I'm getting better, and I'm learning. And I was bad at the game, like, I was really bad at the game, and as I keep playing it, and as I keep trying new ways to play it, I figure out, oh, well, this setup that I currently have for, like, my buttons or my, like, hotkeys or whatever, you know, that doesn't work, because I can't do anything like this with it, or I have too many buttons now because I'm too high level, and I can't, like, you know, the game is so customizable that you feel like you're genuinely making progression and you're genuinely getting better. Like, there was a period where I spent, and I'm sorry if this is getting disjointed, but I'm passionate. I got the fire, you know? There was a period where I just spent, like, 2 hours trying out different heads-up displays. Like, I was messing around with my heads-up display, changing element sizes, changing the hotbars, And I was just messing around with all this stuff, and I'm like, all right, this hotbar does this hotbar does this. And I was setting up different hotbars, and I was like, okay, so this one works like this, and that, and that, and that. And then I started playing the game better, because I found a control scheme that worked better for me. And that wasn't something that I read in a guide. That wasn't something that I found out online. It was, hey, it's kind of awkward for me to activate abilities that are in this area on my, like, hotbar, and so I need to adjust it to make it easier to do, because I was starting to, like, be inefficient or getting people killed, because it's like, oh, that niche healing skill that I use, like, once a dungeon, I need to use it here or we're gonna die, but I can't quickly access it, so I, like, fumble my hotkeys, and then people take damage, and then we get close to dying, and it's not good. And so you change up your playstyle, and you learn, and you adapt, and it's kind of giving me a player versus entity experience that something like Depth gave me back in the day, but without being brutally smashed into the floor by a hammerhead shark, or a person with a potato profile icon and a crown on their head. It feels like it's an accessible version of that, and it feels like the game is designed from the ground up to give you that. And I feel like it has been a lot of fun. Like, it really has. I really enjoy it a lot. And so I've been playing it a lot, and I beat Stormblood, which was a lot of fun. A lot of people apparently hate Stormblood, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. I think that the story in some aspects was a little bit hit or miss, but I overall really liked it. But anyways, I've rambled on for like 7 minutes too long, so if you're still watching the video at this point, thanks. I appreciate it. It really does mean a lot. So yeah, I'll see y'all in the next episode of World of Horror. Have a good one. Bye. I didn't do the circular thing because I didn't have my hands anywhere near the mouse, so I couldn't do it in time. Anyways, goodbye.